On today's World Insight, Central Asian nation Azerbaijan is a global player in climate action and trade, while a reliable partner with China. Learn more about its policies and strategy from a one-on-one talk with Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev.
Well, leadership, of course, is a huge responsibility, and the most important is that the leader must always be fair with its people, with his population.
Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Last year, China and Azerbaijan signed a joint statement to establish a strategic partnership, marking a key milestone in their relations. In January this year, the two countries held their first round of market access talks in Baku, focusing on trade in goods and services, as the country, Azerbaijan, is trying to join the World Trade Organization. Azerbaijan's economy grows. Its cooperation with China in energy, technology, and sustainable development has deepened. I had an exclusive interview with His Excellency President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Mr. Aliyev. Standing on the balcony overlooking the snowy landscape, reminded us of an earlier interview we did years ago. At that time, he enthusiastically promoted the idea of the Middle Corridor. Now, years passed, great synergy has been already created between China and Central Asia through the Belt and Road Initiative. Here is our latest conversation. Mr. President, what an honor to talk to you once again in Davos.
Very glad to see you. I remember our previous meeting, and thank you for this opportunity to be able to speak to your audience.
Thank you, Mr. President. In a multipolar world, how do we see our own dreams and our own plans?
Well, for our country, the most important achievement of recent years was the full restoration of our territorial integrity and sovereignty. We did it based on the international law norms and principles, in line with UN Charter and in line with UN Security Council resolutions. So for almost 30 years, that was our national idea, and we mobilized all our efforts in order to achieve our goal and to restore justice. Unfortunately, international law norms and international organizations were not helpful, because resolutions which were adopted by numerous international organizations were just remained on paper. We had to resolve it ourselves and to restore justice ourselves. And this once again demonstrates that what really world needs now is full respect to international commitments.
Looking from outside your country, Mr. President, though, one could see a very proactive international player, your country. For example, you are seeking membership of the World Trade Organization. By the way, you are having discussions with China on that lately, and also hosted the Global Climate Summit. It is such a mega event. And the list goes on. So one could see a very proactive approach of Azerbaijan. I'm sure you have your plans, and you have been carefully thinking about the way forward, Mr. President.
Definitely, our target was to position Azerbaijan on political and economic map of the world. And hosting a climatic conference, which unites almost 200 countries, was a big challenge, a big responsibility, and also a big success. And another demonstration of Azerbaijan's diversified foreign policy is that our nomination was supported by all the parties. Almost
Congratulations!
200, yes, almost 200 parties, I mean countries and international organizations, unanimously supported Azerbaijan's nomination. Prior to that, we successfully chaired for 4 years a non-aligned movement, which unites 120 countries and is second largest international institution after General Assembly. So this demonstrates that our policy, based on friendship, cooperation, non-interference in internal affairs of any country, really gains support on international arena, so we can be a host country for such a global international event.
Many are paying close attention to your discussion about joining the WTO. It is quite a process, isn't it?
Yes.
Having said that, though, now it is a time when you see protectionism is getting ever rising. Meanwhile, you also see some economies try to use the tools of tariffs, sometimes even blanket tariffs against other economies. And at the same time, the global supply chain is being somewhat disrupted. Why at this moment Azerbaijan thinking it is so crucial to join the World Trade Organization?
Well, actually, in your question, actually we have an answer to that. We are still not a member of World Trade Organization, though we are in an active phase of negotiations for many years, I would say for at least a couple of decades. And the reason why this process did not come to its logical conclusion is exactly what you've said. Protectionism, double standards, tariffs, all that disrupts the core values of World Trade Organization. We see that countries can apply tariffs and use protectionist mechanisms in order to protect their market, absolutely contradicting the principles of WTO. Therefore, we are in the process of negotiations, but at the same time, we are seriously evaluating advantages and disadvantages. One of those concerns is exactly what we just discussed. Another one is that our industry and our export potential must be well prepared for that, because so far a main part of our exports is fossil fuel. And for that, we don't need to be a member of WTO. You sell your commodities on the market. So opening the market for all the world members of WTO will increase competition, at the same time may damage the interests of local producers. Therefore, we are balancing this process and trying to get maximum conditions, positive conditions, while we will be in the future negotiation process. I already said Azerbaijan's economy is self-sufficient. We have one of the lowest rate of foreign debt vis-à-vis GDP. Our hard currency reserves exceed our foreign debt 14 times. So we are not in need actually for any additional benefit. We don't want to lose what we have. But at the same time, we will see if all our proposals with respect to accession, either on bilateral track with countries, negotiation process, or with organization in general, if they're met, then I think the process will go more smoother.
As far as I understand, the latest news suggests that Azerbaijan's negotiation team are also working with the Chinese team on some of the latest information, including in the month of January.
Yes.
And I see quite positive response from both sides.
Yes, this is true because, last year, China and Azerbaijan officially became strategic partners. After the meeting between President of China and myself last summer, corresponding declaration on strategic partnership was adopted. And this is a very important political step in our bilateral relationship. So strategic partnership is a very high level of mutual trust, cooperation, and we are looking forward to expand our partnership with China, including in the issues related to our membership to different international organizations, not only WTO.
How do you see the discussions about the Global South, both in terms of security, trade, economic development, and win-win?
This is really a demonstration of strong mutual will in order to become closer with this international organization. And of course, when you work with international organizations or want to become closer, you look at the composition, you look at the member states, and with all member states of Shanghai Cooperation Organization and BRICS, Azerbaijan has very good and friendly relations. Plus, our geographical location, which is Southern Caucasus and Caspian, I think will be also important in terms of our contribution to common goals. Definitely issues which we are working very closely now actively with China and countries of Central Asia, it's connectivity projects, because Azerbaijan just sits on the route from east to the west with already modern sophisticated transportation infrastructure. So we can really contribute a lot from point of practical results. Definitely, access to any organization is a political move, but it must be backed by economy, by practical infrastructure projects, which unite countries even more. So as a part of Global South, we always defended the interests of Global South. And by the way, coming back to COP29, one of our idea was to build stronger bridges between Global South and Global West, because as a host country of COP29, we found out that there is a certain level of mistrust between the two with respect to climatic issues, and not only.
Not only that, gap actually is quite wide.
That's true.
What have you observed so far, besides the statement you just made?
Well, actually, when we became deeply involved in the issues related to climate change, we've seen that there is a big level of disappointment in the countries which have existential threat with respect to climate change. We all suffer from that, including Azerbaijan. But there are countries, especially small island states, which face existential threat. And their case sometimes was not put on the center of agenda. We did it. One of the important events during the COP29 in Baku was a summit of small island developing states, where Azerbaijan put forward a very ambitious agenda in order to provide practical support to those countries. It is obvious that without a consolidated approach of big actors, it will be difficult to support those countries, and those countries who don't have financial resources to address climatic issues. So I think it's a responsibility of countries which take this burden to do more. And Global South, absolutely objectively, is waiting for more support from the wealthiest countries of the world.
As you importantly pointed out, Mr. President, there has been a funding gap. And that funding gap was related to earlier promises which has not been carried out, especially to the developing countries by the developed economies. But it seems that the world is getting ever more divergent and also fragmented. Some of those so-called deficit of trust is only getting bigger. So how would a leader, at this moment of transition and when political trust could be diminishing, try to make sound judgment for your country? I think that means a lot of pressure. That means a lot of study and research.
I think one of the main factors for Azerbaijan's feeling itself comfortable in different environments is that we already did a lot with respect to our homework. We build a stable economy, we have a stable political system, We implement a lot of social programs which increase the living standards of people. We managed to reduce the level of poverty to approximately 5%. And with a strong partnership relationship with different international actors, we play a role of a certain facilitator. I already said about our strategic partnership declaration with China, but at the same time we have a strategic partnership declaration signed with 10 members of European Union. We have alliance declaration signed with Turkey, Uzbekistan, and Russia. So you see this diversified foreign policy trend is not just policy, it's based on substance. On every track, we have practical results, we have programs of cooperation, and our foreign policy, as any other countries, is just continuation of a domestic policy. So contribution of Azerbaijan to regional stability and regional peace in a broader geography rather than just Central Asia, Caspian, and Southern Caucasus is something which is already being appreciated by global international actors. And our position is that if every country just concentrates on its own agenda, do not try to interfere into other countries' affairs, then there'll be no conflicts, no disagreements, no wars. The only reason that still we have unstable situation and bloodshed all around the world is just because countries which had imperialistic past, they just want to continue to interfere, to dominate, to dictate, and this naturally leads to resistance. So we managed to protect ourselves from internal interference, but not every country has a potential to do that. If country is dependent from economic point of view, then definitely it will be less capable to resist and to defend its national interests. Economy is the bulk of everything. Ideology, economy, and national ideas. So this combination in Azerbaijan really brought us what we deserve.
How do you see the interactions as an observer, of course, between China and the United States? We understand right before the inauguration ceremony of Mr. Trump as the 47th President of the United States, Chinese President and the US President talked on the phone. And they talk about how they can cooperate for the benefits of the world's security, development, and safety. So how do you see these kind of interactions between the two largest economies of the world?
That was, by the way, very good news, I think, for the world.
You know both of them quite well.
Well, I know President Xi much better because I met him many times. With President Trump, I didn't have a formal meeting, just handshake. But again, this is a very good sign, a good signal to the world, to world economy, to stability, because China and United States are two biggest economies and two leading countries of the world. And of course, consensus between them on different issues. And cooperation, not confrontation, will be definitely to the benefit of all the countries. So when we heard about that telephone conversation, we're glad that it happened, and we hope that this process of close partnership will continue.
China has been enjoying rapid development in green technology and sharing, certainly, with the rest of the world. And I also understand you have a very active green agenda as well. For example, working on some of the photovoltaic power stations together with China. How do you see a country and economy like yours, even though rich in fossil fuel, but looking at green as the ultimate solution?
Yes, definitely. I think this is a responsibility of countries with fossil fuel, that they need to use their revenues from fossil fuel to invest in green technologies and green energy. That's what we exactly are doing. And we provided a good investment opportunities for investors. So our immediate target by 2027 is to have 2 gigawatt of solar and wind, and by 2030, 6 gigawatt. And that will be kind of a revolution in energy mix in Azerbaijan. And I'd like also to say that the investors, which are investing foreign companies in these projects, including local companies from Azerbaijan, they use Chinese technology. So solar panels are produced in China. Now our team is working on storage capacity. And we found out that the batteries, the best batteries, yes, are in China. So I just only can congratulate Chinese producers with this tremendous success, because it's a quality and price, and no one can compete. So
especially for the global South countries.
Exactly, exactly. And also now Chinese companies are also interested in not only providing services and technology, but also to invest in Azerbaijan. And this is already in the pipeline. At COP29, we signed agreement between Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan to build an energy cable under the Caspian Sea. So we will connect Central Asia and Azerbaijan and potentially China with energy cable. Another project will stretch the cable from Azerbaijan to Europe on the Black Sea. So this is another connectivity. This is a corridor for green energy with huge potential.
How come every step of the way, Azerbaijan and China seem always to find each other? It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
It's always in each other's plans.
Yes, yes. This really became a serious geopolitical synergy. Yes.
And the strategic partnership just mentioned, it's really upgrading everything.
Yes, exactly. And also recently we exempted from visa requirements for Chinese citizens. So Chinese citizens do not need now even to apply for electronic visa. So this will increase the number of tourists. This will increase people-to-people contacts, definitely. And public diplomacy will play its role. Now we work on official diplomatic channels, political, economic, trade, investments, connectivity, but public diplomacy will add a lot.
As you know, Mr. President, Azerbaijan and China are working so closely together, especially on trade and economic cooperation. China's economy is going through this transition. It is looking for the new growth point. Well, at the same time, there's great potential. What is your take about the current state of the Chinese economy? And to you, as a global South economy, what do you see about the nature of this economy in China?
As far as what we observed is concerned, Chinese economy is very stable, and it is an important factor of global economy. And for a country like Azerbaijan, which needs to have stable prices for fossil fuel, Chinese economy is also an important factor. When Chinese economy grows faster, the demand for fossil fuel is more. So we are actually interested also from this point of view that China's economy always grows, but it is not easy because when you grow year after year, you build a bulk, so it's always difficult to continue.
The expectation is very high.
Yes, expectations are very high. So, but I'm sure that the talented Chinese people, they will find, I'm sure they already did, new points of growth, because you are the leader in technology. And in Azerbaijan, for instance, many Chinese companies provide their services and their technology. And as we just discussed, in green technology, no one can compete. So our investors, which belong to different companies from different parts of the world, they select Chinese technology in order to to install this capacity.
The world is changing quite fast, one could say. Yet every time when I talk to you, Mr. President, it seems that your core is always very strong. I really wonder, what does that say, not only about yourself, but also about leadership today, especially at a time amid all changes?
Well, leadership, of course, is a huge responsibility, and the most important is that you, the leader, must always be fair with its people, with his population. Never lie to your people, and they will appreciate that. We know that sometimes, due to some political reasons, leaders who seek power, they give a lot of promises, and then they fail to implement them, and this leads to frustration, this leads to disbelief, this leads to political crisis in different parts of the world. But in our case, for more than 20 years, I always told the people of Azerbaijan the truth, no matter how this truth was, how to say, positive or negative, whatever. And always told the people that we will restore justice. And people believed me. And after 17 years in power, finally, we delivered what we promised and restored our sovereignty, territorial integrity, and dignity. So my recommendation to leaders who are trying to get public support is always tell the truth and do what is necessary for the country, regardless international pressure, regardless international media, no matter what they say about you, how they call you, how they insult you. Just do what is right for your country and you will succeed. And the country will succeed.
That's my exclusive interview with the President of Azerbaijan. And that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to know more, search World Insight, check out our YouTube channel, follow us on X and Facebook. I'm Tian Wei. On behalf of the team, thanks for being with us. Bye for now.